Recently, I hired someone to run my Pinterest account. And over the course of 3 months, my engagement tanked by 80%. Outsourcing is supposed to save us time and create ease in our businesses. But if we don't train and keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in that area of our business that we're outsourcing, then it can really unravel quickly. And that's what happened to me. I outsourced something in my business that cost me 80% of engagement in 3 months. And that's not on the person that I hired, that's on me, because I didn't check in. I took my eye off the ball. And I don't want that to happen for you. So in this episode, I am going to unpack what we actually need to be doing when we are training people up in our businesses and hopefully break the illusion of a completely hands-off automated business. Because I think that's a line of BS that we get sold in the online space, that at some point in our businesses, we're going to be able to take our hands off the wheel and the whole business is just going to keep going. And that's a fantasy. That's not reality. Pinterest is a big deal in my business. There is so much value in Pinterest, and I am not a Pinterest user. I'm not a visual learner. I'm an audio learner. And I find Pinterest frustrating. I love it as a tool for my business. Because what Pinterest allows you to do is take any long-form content in your business, like this podcast episode, like a blog post, like a YouTube video, like your lead magnets, and create a golden pathway to that content that will help it to last for a long ass time. Way longer than the 6 seconds it's going to last on social media. And I see so many entrepreneurs who are stressing over being on social media all the time. And inside Content by Design, we work on long-form content. And I recently had a guest in who spoke about Pinterest and how to actually make your content last longer. Content on Pinterest can last anywhere from months to years. My best performing pin, I only keep it there. I really should delete it, but I only keep it there on my Pinterest account because it's fun to watch. It is about 12 years old now, and it's my top performing pin. Pinterest content gets better over time. That's not the focus of this episode, but this is what I hired out in my business. Why did I hire it out? Because we were behind, way behind on Pinterest for the podcast episodes. Now, the podcast, Unjaded, that you're listening to is my number one driver in my business. It's fully monetized. It brings people into my world all day long. It nurtures my people. I hope that you're learning lots as you're listening. And then Pinterest creates the pathway that helps those episodes keep being found over time. Why was I behind on Pinterest? Because as a manifesting generator, I have yet to find anyone who can really, truly keep up to me. I'm a creative force online, and it's really hard to find people who can match my pace. So it never fails. In some area of my business, something is falling behind. Now, I think that this is an area that I can improve upon. I can really look for the gaps in my business and fill them. But I've had a lot of VA disasters over the last couple of years. I've hired VAs everywhere from $4 US an hour to $75 US an hour, and I've ended up in some version of the same mess. And what exactly is the common denominator with all of these things? It's me. So it's not the fault of the VA. It's me and my lack of training them and really making sure that I keep tapping into the metrics and that I keep guiding them along the way. When I had my clothing store, I had my manager do all of the training on the sales floor because I cannot stand training people. I don't have the patience for it. Again, I'm a manifesting generator. We are not long on patience. We're not known for our patience. And training is something that I absolutely hate. But this time it cost me. So I found out about this when we were actually delivering the live bonus training inside of Content by Design and the Design to Profit membership. We went to my account because I was helping people to understand how Pinterest can increase your leads over time, increase traffic over time, coming to your website, buying your offers. And we opened up my Pinterest account and I was like, oh my God, what is actually happening here? The graphics weren't the way that I wanted them. The hooks and headlines didn't make sense. The descriptions were not keyword rich. Now, what I had done is that I had hired this person, and she's someone that I know, and she's someone for whom English is a first language. And I feel like that's important when we are talking about writing copy, when we're talking about recognizing hooks, headlines, descriptions. Because yes, most of these VAs are using AI. However, you still need a person coming along behind to make sure that it's real. And this is what I thought this person would be able to do. So I handed over my brand voice guide, which is robust. My AI is well trained in my brand voice, my positioning, my offers, all of the things. I handed this over. I handed over a Pinterest for Beginners course. I handed over my keywords. What are keywords? Keywords and key phrases are things that we use in our content for search engine optimization, SEO, so that our content can be found over time. And when I opened up my Pinterest account, I was gobsmacked at the lack of SEO, at the headlines and hooks that weren't really headlines and hooks. The kind of cheat code that I have for myself when I'm writing SEO is, what would someone Google to find this? Or what would someone be Googling that this is actually the answer to that problem? And a lot of these hooks and headlines didn't make any sense at all. It's not the fault of the person that I hired, because I didn't stay close to her. I completely forgot about my Pinterest account. I was mid-launch for Content by Design. I was delivering inside my community Design to Profit. And I was thinking that this is so great. I've outsourced this Pinterest thing. It's still getting done. I'm paying my bill every 2 weeks. Yay, we're doing this. And I never opened my account. I didn't look at my analytics, or I would have known, I would have seen the downward trend in my Pinterest account. But I didn't do any of that until I was faced with it on this live training. And when I looked at my analytics later on that evening, over 90 days, my engagement was down 79%. That is significant. And think of what it has cost me in traffic into my business, that 79% being gone over the course of 3 months. And I know better. How on earth did I expect this person to be an SEO expert when I work with entrepreneurs all day long in my community that really don't understand even what SEO is, let alone how to use it in your business? Yet I hired someone who's not in this field and expected her to hit the ground running. Had I checked the numbers, I would have seen the story, because the numbers don't lie. But I didn't do that. So it's, again, 100% on me. I took my finger off the pulse in my business, and I expected something to run on autopilot. And I don't believe that anything really and truly ever completely runs on autopilot in our businesses. That's a lie that we've been sold. That's a story we've been fed from pretty accounts on Instagram that lead us to believe that it can be easy, that lead us to believe that it can be hands-off. If you are a small-ish entrepreneur and you're listening to this podcast, I would venture to say that your business is probably not a business that's ever going to be hands-off. So let's stop falling for that trap. Let's stop buying into the fantasy that our businesses are going to run on autopilot. It's not the reality for the vast majority of entrepreneurs, and that's okay. So what is happening now? How can you course correct when you have taken your finger off the pulse in your business and your engagement has tanked or something else has happened in your business? I'll walk you through what I'm doing with this VA now and how I'm taking responsibility for my Pinterest account and getting us back on track. I've hired someone to blast out graphics for me. And then I will go in and I will add headlines. So in my business, each long form piece of content, blog post, podcast episode, etc., each asset, because your long form content is an asset in your business, gets at least 5 pins, 5 different pins. So now over the next probably 3 months, I will go back through the entire podcast and the entire blog. And every evening or every time I get a chance, I will go in and I will do 2 or 3 episodes at a time. And I'll get them all scheduled out on my Pinterest account so that I'm not like blasting it all at once. Pinterest loves rhythm. So I will stretch it out and I will revitalize my Pinterest account. I sat down as soon as this happened and I worked with my AI. Again, it's well trained in my brand voice and all of that jazz. Worked with my AI to optimize my entire account for my keywords. So I was looking at my bio, I was looking at my cover photo, I was looking at my title, And this is something as far as Pinterest goes, and probably other places in our businesses as well, where we need to be checking in every 6 months or so probably to check and see what needs to change, because we're always refining our niche. We're always refining who we serve. We're always refining how we serve. So look at things in your business like your bios that may need to be updated, your email signature. Any of these things can be updated just to freshen them up. And maybe your SEO has gotten a little bit more tailored. I know that mine had. So when I looked back at my bio, I was like, whoa, this is really off. I need to fix this. And then I went in and I started deleting pins that had 0 engagement or that the hooks and headlines were horrific. And those that did have engagement, some of that was kind of false engagement because people on this training had jumped over and looked at the pins. Now they had all of these views. I reworded the descriptions. This is something that I don't think the VA was really doing. My hope and my request had been that she would get the description from AI with the keywords, put it into Pinterest, and then make it sound like a human. But that step got missed. And I didn't check in. Now I'm going back through and I'm doing all of this. I'm zhuzhing up as much as I possibly can for SEO-rich stuff. The look of it is the look of it. If these pins have engagement, I'm leaving them because they're getting engagement and Pinterest is going to push them out. But I want Pinterest to push them out to the right people. Well, I'm working behind the background doing all of this stuff. Now, there's a lot of business coaches who would tell you, oh my God, that's a terrible use of your time. It's a $10 an hour task. It's a $30 an hour task. You should be doing something more creative. But I need to get back in the driver's seat in this area of my business. So I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get in there and I am going to make this happen. Also, manifesting generator. So I can do it faster than anybody else. We are efficient, if nothing else, as MGs. And as I'm doing this, I am going to train this original VA because it was of no fault of her own that this went off the tracks. I'm going to train this original VA. We're going to work on new episodes that are coming out together for about 30 days. I'm going to make sure she watches that full Pinterest beginner's course. I'm going to walk her through exactly the hacks that I use for SEO, exactly how I want things edited in descriptions on Pinterest to be in my voice. I'm going to salvage this working relationship because it wasn't her fault that it went off the rails. It was mine. The biggest thing that I would love for you to take away from this episode is this. We can't fully outsource without proper training and checks in place along the way. I don't think there's ever a point where we can just wash our hands of something and say, oh, there, she's in charge of email marketing. I never have to check in. She's in charge of posting the blogs. I never have to check in. We always have to have our eyes on it, have our eyes on the metrics and the numbers and be checking the data. I believe as entrepreneurs, we should know how to do every single job in our businesses. Now, does that mean I'm going to code in the back end of my website? No. But I'm going to know that if I'm putting out this offer, this is the page I need on the website. This is how you do a thank you page. This is where the thank you page gets done, all of the pieces. Because what happens if all of a sudden, maybe you're in a dry spell in your business, you're not making as much money so you can't hire the help, or the VA gets sick and you don't have a backup? What happens if you don't know how to do anything in your business and you don't know what any of this data in the back end means so you can't interpret it? We really need to know how to do these things and what these things mean in our businesses in order for our businesses to succeed. Your message, my message, your voice, my voice, your positioning, my positioning, your strategy, my strategy. These are CEO level responsibilities. And as CEOs in our businesses, we need to remain in the driver's seat at all times. There's a difference between delegating tasks and outsourcing your power in your business, turning a blind eye to what's going on in your business. You can give someone ownership of a task in your business and have them be checking in with you. They can provide the data and the metrics and give it to you each month. This doesn't have to be something where you're actually logging in if that's not your thing. But there has to be some ownership of tasks and ownership of metrics. There has to be some checkpoint in place where if engagement dips more than X percentage, I want to hear from you. If you fall behind more than so many episodes, I want to hear from you. Where are the checkpoints along the way that we can put in places in our business to make sure that these types of things don't happen? Sometimes entrepreneurs may look at Pinterest and think, that's a nice to have. That's a pretty thing. Oh, that's for choosing outfits. That's for cooking. That's for whatever. I really focus on Pinterest as one of the biggest or most important pieces of your business once you have been creating long-form content. I talk about this in Content by Design. I talk about it in my community, Design to Profit, because it's a big deal in this age of AI, where so many people are getting lazy with their content creation and outsourcing their content creation, outsourcing their voices, not paying attention to what's happening in these places in their businesses. I think we're on a really short leash here. I got an email from Joe Paluzzi this week, and he figures that we have 3 years before AI completely obliterates the online business space, making us completely invisible if we are not being cited in AI searches. I would be surprised if we have 3 years. So what I'm focusing on in my business now, and what I'm encouraging you to do, and I'm encouraging the members in Design to Profit community to do, is to focus on the things that will last in your business. I'm not saying social media doesn't have its place, but these long-form pieces of content in your business are really where the focus needs to be in order to stay relevant in the age of AI. If you would love some support with some of these strategies as you're building your business out to survive the next 3 years and thrive in the next 3 years, I hope, then I'm going to invite you to check out the Black Friday early bird list in the show notes, because I'm working on some really killer offers for you for Black Friday. And when you're an early bird, you'll be the first to know. I have a different offer every day for at least 5 days, and you'll be the first to know about it. So that when you are ready for the next level of support, you can come in and have that within the community. And while this episode shows me being fully transparent with you about how I messed up in my business, you see all of the behind the scenes in my business when you're inside the community. I recently took people through the last launch of CBD. I walked them through every single thing that we did over the course of that entire launch. And we have a call plan where I will walk them through the whole debrief so that you can then take these granular pieces and use them to build your own launches. Because so many times we see these big shiny entrepreneurs in the online space and it doesn't feel real. It's all pretty on the outside and perfectly poised, and it doesn't feel like there's something there that we can really grasp a hold of and use in our own businesses. That's what you get in my community. You get real. We show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between, so that you can strategize how to build your business, keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening as you go along. Smash that Black Friday early bird list button in the show notes if you don't want to miss what's coming next.